Be warned, there will be many spoilers for the video game Lydia in this video. I hope that it is common knowledge that abuse and neglect can do terrible things to a child, not only in the moment that the child experiences the abuse and neglect, but afterwards when they grow and try to learn to live in a society that they have been taught is dangerous and frightening. What many people may not understand is why parents may abuse or neglect a child. I am not here to excuse the actions of parents who have abused their children. Rather, what I'm trying to explain today is why a parent, through a series of thinking errors, may believe that they are not harming, abusing, or neglecting their child. Hello, my name is Solomon Rambling, and today we're looking at the video game Lydia. This is part of a series of mental health videos I have been creating, which is designed to helpfully inform you various aspects about mental health, and in this case, substance use. There is a trigger warning because we will be delving into some distressing topics. And if you find that you are impacted by this video and need help, there are resources that will be listed in the comments of this video. They are for American audiences, so if you need help and you're outside of the US, look for resources in your community that can support you. We begin with a quick note on Lydia, the game itself, and that it is the first video game I reviewed in this series that I think is a pretty solid title. Fractured Minds and Drowning gave us good glimpses into mental health, but didn't quite succeed as video games, whereas Lydia is pretty masterful at telling a story while engaging the player. It still doesn't quite have the level of engagement a player may want from a video game, but the story is compelling, the art design is impactful, and there are some wonderful scenes that play with your emotions. For this video, we'll be focusing on Lydia's parents. Later on, she has a stepdad of sorts, but we're not going to talk so much about him. We're going to focus on the bio parents and what may be going through their heads when they don't treat Lydia the way she should be treated. We'll start first with the father figure. Our first scene with him shows the playful interactions between Dad and Lydia. We see him joke around with her and begin to tell her a story. And from all this, we can really tell how much he loves his daughter. It almost seems like the mom is the villain because she's the one that scolds him when he's trying to tell Lydia a story. However, as we later learn, he is consumed by partying and alcoholism to the point that he'll put his needs before Lydia's. We only get him for 2 scenes, and in the second scene we find him camping with his daughter, and he's called up by a friend who offers to come and drink with him. Rather than continue to spend time with his daughter, he decides to take his friend up on the offer and sends his daughter to bed. While she is trying to get to sleep, we hear that he intends to leave the family. He explains that he loves his daughter. However, he doesn't like anything associated with being a dad. He was in a relationship with the mom, and at some point they had unprotected sex resulting in the pregnancy. The two get married and they're unhappy together. It seems from the dad's perspective that he is so miserable being with his wife that he justifies getting away. Lydia had a father figure that she deeply cared about, who she saw as her savior. And we see this in the first dream sequence that she has with Teddy, and it shows him as a knight in shining armor. However, he's completely drunk, and when she tries to go to him for help, he is totally incompetent. When he faces the so-called monster that concerns Lydia, he tries to be aggressive, he threatens to fight, and he ultimately falls down because he's so intoxicated. And this, unfortunately, is the image of her father in her mind. A person that is supposed to be great, who has done great things for her and shows that love and is her protector, but ultimately has become a scary, even violent figure due to his own alcoholism and lack of care for his daughter. It is possible that his alcoholism is what led to him ultimately leaving. Alcohol was his form of an escape from all of the hardships in his life. It made him feel like he could leave the family like that. He could be a great dad to Lydia, tell jokes, make her laugh, make her smile, and then he could get drunk and ignore everything. As long as he made her happy for a little bit, he deserves to be happy as well. This line of thinking may ultimately have led him to believe that Lydia was fine and he had done enough for her, and so he was justified in leaving. And in all honesty, he probably didn't even think about her, because if he did, that sort of hurt would probably keep him attached to her. Compared to the father, the mother is seen with absolutely no redeeming qualities. The mom is seen chiding her daughter almost always, saying that her daughter makes her worried, that her daughter is ungrateful, that her daughter is acting awfully. One of the more harrowing scenes involves Mom and Lydia after an accident that kills two of Lydia's friends. The mom is seen berating her daughter, saying that she is responsible to an extent for her friend's death, that now because of her actions, the mom has to experience so much more pain and hardship. In one of the final imaginary sequences, the mom is constructed into this giant monster who blames her daughter for ruining everything. What may be so infuriating to most gamers is how the mother describes herself. Some of her lines include, "I've tried my best, giving you everything, but you just keep on disappointing me. No matter what I do, how hard I try, it's all about you. For once, step into my shoes and think about what I've been through, what I had to suffer. If it weren't for you, I'd still be married. I wouldn't be alone, and I wouldn't feel miserable all the time." Shortly after this scene, we discover that the mom is in the hospital, that she attempted to take her life through pills and overdosing. While in this hospital, she accuses her grown daughter of doing nothing to prevent her mom's attempted suicide. Many of us will see this scene as awful. We'll look at the mom and think, "You utter witch. How dare you say that you took care of your daughter when you did absolutely nothing, that you made her life hell, and right now you're saying your life was hell?" This anger, we feel, is justified. Here's a mom that wasn't the mom she should have been, who wasn't emotionally supportive, who wasn't there to help Lydia through all these hard times, who struggled with alcoholism and is now blaming her daughter for her own miserable life. If we let that anger go for a moment, though, and think about what this mom is saying, it's actually very sad. As strange as it sounds, step into her shoes. When she was young, she had a child that she had not expected. She got married to a man that she thought would be good for her, and ultimately, that relationship ended with him leaving her suddenly. She may have had to make changes to her life when she wasn't ready to make that change. Maybe she still wanted to be young and free, and then suddenly she has a daughter that she needs to take care of. And so she took the steps to take care of her child, and at least at first, she was a good parent. But the stress and resentment that was built over time eventually made her into a cold, uncaring woman who is in genuine pain. But instead of doing something that helped her, she just further escaped into substance use. And so she started doing the bare minimum as a parent. And in some cases, she would have been better doing nothing rather than engaging with her daughter. All that said, we can even see that she loves her daughter. In the final scene, she begs her daughter to look at some family photos, where most of them are baby pictures. And she says that the family was happy at that time. And in those photos, we actually do see that the family was most likely happy. And this mom had some sort of care for her child. But due to her own hardships, she never became that caring mom. You're given a choice at the end of the game whether you leave or stay when the mother asks you to stay. If you choose to stay, she berates Lydia for being all talk and never leaving. Even in this moment where the mom had a chance to redeem herself, her anger and resentment came out, and she decided to inflict pain on Lydia instead. The question still remains, How can this selfishness and hurt ultimately become abuse and neglect? For one, substance use is a terrible thing. When someone's intoxicated, they cannot adequately care for a child. They are not capable of being emotionally there, and what a child needs is emotionally present adults. So inherent in that is neglect. The other part to this, though, is that these parents make excuses to themselves to justify their behavior. In this case, the mom may say to herself that she's angry and that her daughter deserves to hear why she is angry. That if she were to call her daughter a name or to yell at her, that will finally make her daughter change. And if her daughter doesn't change, that means the parent just needs to step up the yelling, step up the name calling to actually make something happen. Now let's say things still don't get better. Then the parent feels justified in doing whatever they need to the child, whether they ignore them, give physical punishment, or anything like that. The other part of it is some parents may not understand what is abuse and neglect. For instance, it is considered abuse if you hit your child with an object. That means spanking your child with a belt is physical abuse. But we have a whole generation of people who were disciplined that way. Today we have learned that that type of punishment will make a child only scared and angry and won't actually create a better change. A big one that people don't understand is a form of abuse is domestic violence in the home. When there is a physically violent fight between adults, if a child views that, that is abuse. So why does abuse happen? Many reasons. What we've covered today is it can happen with parents that are struggling and hurting themselves. It can happen because parents don't understand what is abuse and neglect. And it can happen because those parents were taught abusive strategies by their parents. For Lydia's parents, we can certainly pity their circumstances and feel like we understand where they came from. I am not saying we excuse their actions. So what do we do with this information? In many cases, the path toward healing is understanding why people act the way they act. When we understand that, we can find solutions that can help them. And even in a family that has experienced abuse, there's ways to fix it. And if everybody is involved in the healing process, we can make great work. That's why we have the whole foster care system in place. Families can be reunited. Things can change. We should always strive to improve upon ourselves and improve upon the environment in which we live. I hope this discussion has been informative to you. And again, if you're struggling, see resources below to help you out. And for my viewers who are in the United States, I've included a link to the child abuse hotline. If you know of any child under the age of 18 who's currently being abused, call this hotline, deliver an anonymous report, and get help to that child. The more we are aware, the more we can do. Again, thank you for your time. And until next time, well,